Number 15. The dead still come home. High in the mountains of South Sulawesi, Indonesia, the Toraja people preserve a tradition that can be startling to outsiders. It is called manene, often translated as the ceremony of cleaning the ancestors. During this tradition, practiced by some Torajan communities, families revisit the resting places of deceased relatives, carefully maintain them, and may replace their clothing as an expression of remembrance and respect. But manene is not meant to be frightening. It reflects a Torajan worldview in which family bonds do not simply disappear after death. Remembering ancestors can remain an important part of family identity across generations. The Toraja homeland is also famous for elaborate funeral traditions, distinctive tongkonan houses, and dramatic highland landscapes. Indonesia's 2020 census counted roughly 1.46 million people in the Toraja ethnic category, although customs vary greatly among communities and families. For visitors, manene may seem extraordinary. For participating families, however, its meaning is far more personal, honoring the people who came before them and keeping their memory present in family life. Number 14. A life built on water. Across the waters of Indonesia live communities whose relationship with the ocean goes far beyond fishing. The Bajau, often called sea nomads, have spent generations building their lives around the sea, particularly in areas of Sulawesi and eastern Indonesia. Traditionally, some Bajau families lived aboard boats, while others built wooden homes on stilts directly above shallow coastal waters. What makes their story even more remarkable is their extraordinary connection to diving. A widely cited 2018 study found that Bajau participants had spleens about 50% larger, on average, than those of a neighboring non-diving population. Researchers suggested this may be an adaptation associated with generations of breath-hold diving, although individuals vary considerably. Today, many Bajau communities live permanently in coastal settlements, and their traditional way of life is changing. Education, modern employment, environmental pressures, and declining marine resources are reshaping communities once defined by constant movement across the sea. For the Bajau, the ocean is more than scenery. It has historically been a highway, a workplace, a source of food, and, for many families, home. Number 13. A giant Buddhist wonder. In the heart of Java stands something many first-time visitors may not expect. Borobudur, the world's largest Buddhist monument, rising in a country with the world's largest Muslim population. Built during the 8th and 9th centuries, Borobudur is an enormous stone structure composed of multiple levels that visitors traditionally ascend as part of a symbolic journey. UNESCO describes the monument as having 5 square terraces, 3 circular platforms, and a monumental stupa at the top. Its walls and balustrades contain thousands of carved relief panels, while hundreds of Buddha statues were incorporated into the original complex. Its survival is remarkable. After centuries of changing kingdoms and religious landscapes, Borobudur underwent a major UNESCO-supported restoration between 1973 and 1983 and remains a UNESCO World Heritage Site today. Modern Indonesia is predominantly Muslim, but its religious landscape is remarkably diverse. The country officially recognizes multiple religions, while Bali is famous for its Hindu traditions, and Christian communities are significant in several regions. Number 12. Houses shaped like giant boats. In the highlands of South Sulawesi, entire villages are defined by one of Indonesia's most recognizable architectural wonders, the tongkonan. These traditional ancestral houses of the Toraja people rise above the landscape with enormous curved roofs that appear to sweep upward like the ends of a giant boat. Their appearance is only part of the story. A tongkonan is traditionally connected to ancestry, family identity, social relationships, and ceremonies. The exterior can be covered with detailed geometric carvings, with different patterns carrying cultural meanings. Some houses also display rows of buffalo horns, historically associated with ceremonies and a family's social standing. Building a traditional tongkonan requires specialized craftsmanship and can involve extensive community participation. The houses are generally raised above the ground on wooden supports, a practical design in Indonesia's tropical environment. The Toraja cultural landscape has been on UNESCO's tentative list since 2009, reflecting the international significance of these traditions. To outsiders, a tongkonan may resemble a spectacular piece of architecture. To many Torajan families, it represents something deeper: ancestry, belonging, and a physical connection between generations. Number 11. Indonesia's mysterious blue flames. On the island of Java, darkness reveals one of Indonesia's most surreal natural sights. At Kawah Ijen, an active volcanic crater in East Java, electric blue flames can appear against the night, creating the illusion that blue lava is flowing down the mountain. But the truth is even more fascinating. The lava itself is not blue. The phenomenon occurs when sulfur-rich volcanic gases escape through cracks at extremely high temperatures and ignite when they meet oxygen. Burning sulfur produces the intense blue glow, while some of the gas can condense into liquid sulfur and continue burning as it moves across the ground. Ijen is also famous for its intensely acidic turquoise crater lake. Scientific measurements have recorded extraordinarily low pH levels in parts of the lake, making it one of the most acidic large crater lakes on Earth. The beauty comes with real hazards. Volcanic gases can be dangerous, and access is sometimes restricted when conditions change. What looks like a scene created with special effects is entirely real. Fire, sulfur, chemistry, and an active volcano, combining to create one of Indonesia's strangest landscapes. Number 10. Life is just feet from trains. In parts of Indonesia's crowded cities, the boundary between a railway and a neighborhood can feel surprisingly thin. Around Greater Jakarta and other dense areas of Java, some communities have developed close to active rail corridors, where homes, small businesses, and everyday street life may sit only a short distance from passing trains. The reason becomes clearer when you consider the scale of urbanization. Greater Jakarta is one of the world's largest metropolitan areas, home to more than 30 million people, depending on how its boundaries are defined. Across Java, Indonesia's most populous island, limited urban space and decades of rapid growth have created extraordinary pressure on available land. Indonesia's railway network now carries hundreds of millions of passenger journeys annually, and commuter trains are essential to daily life around Jakarta. Yet living near active tracks brings serious safety concerns. Authorities have worked to secure railway corridors and discourage unauthorized activity around them. For travelers arriving from quieter cities, the contrast can be astonishing. Trains, homes, shops, motorcycles, and millions of daily routines compressed into the same urban landscape. Number 9. Funerals that wait for months. In the highlands of South Sulawesi, death does not always lead immediately to a funeral. Among some Toraja families, the final ceremony may take place weeks, months, or even longer after a person has died. The delay allows relatives to gather, complete traditional preparations, and organize an event that can involve an extended family and community. This is connected to a distinctive Torajan understanding of death. Before the major funeral rites are completed, a deceased relative may traditionally be described as tumakula, meaning a sick person, rather than being treated as completely separated from the family. Known as Rambu Solo, Torajan funeral ceremonies can become major social and cultural gatherings. Their scale varies enormously according to family circumstances, traditions, and social position. Ceremonies may continue for several days and bring together relatives who have traveled long distances to return home. Toraja has also become one of South Sulawesi's best-known cultural destinations, attracting visitors interested in its architecture, landscapes, and ceremonies. Number 8. Bali shuts down for a day. Imagine arriving on one of the world's busiest tourist islands and suddenly finding the streets almost empty, businesses closed, and everyday traffic virtually gone. Once each year, Bali observes Nyepi, the Balinese Hindu Day of Silence, creating a dramatic contrast with the island's usual energy. For 24 hours, generally from 6 a.m. until 6 a.m. the following morning, Balinese Hindus observed restrictions traditionally associated with travel, work, entertainment, and the use of fire or bright lights. Visitors are also expected to remain inside their accommodations and respect local rules. Even Bali's international airport normally suspends regular flight operations during Nyepi, apart from permitted emergency or exceptional situations. In 2026, Nyepi fell on March 19th. The silence has a spiritual purpose. Nyepi marks the Balinese Saka New Year and provides a period for reflection and self-restraint. Traditional community guards, known as pekalang, help maintain order during the observance. For an island famous for beaches, nightlife, traffic, and millions of visitors, the transformation is extraordinary. For one day, much of Bali becomes quieter than most travelers could ever imagine. Number 7. Working inside a volcano. Before sunrise at Kawah Ijen in East Java, another side of Indonesia emerges behind the famous blue flames. For decades, workers here have collected solidified sulfur from an active volcanic environment, turning one of the country's most spectacular landscapes into a demanding workplace. Sulfur-rich gases emerge through volcanic vents and are channeled through pipes, where they cool and form bright yellow deposits. Workers traditionally break the sulfur into pieces and carry heavy loads away from the crater area. Reports over the years have documented individual loads commonly reaching roughly 60 to 90 kilograms, although working practices and conditions can vary. The setting makes this labor especially difficult. Ijen's crater contains an extremely acidic lake, while sulfur dioxide and other volcanic gases can create dangerous air conditions. Authorities can restrict access when volcanic activity or gas concentrations become unsafe. Today, tourism has changed the local economy. Some former sulfur workers have shifted partly or entirely toward guiding visitors and other tourism-related jobs. Number 6. Real dragons still rule here. On a handful of Indonesian islands lives an animal that seems almost prehistoric. The Komodo dragon is the largest living species of lizard, with exceptional individuals reaching around 3 meters or nearly 10 feet in length and weighing more than 70 kilograms. In the wild, these giant reptiles have an extremely limited natural range. They survive on several islands in eastern Indonesia, including Komodo, Rinca, and parts of Flores. Much of their best-known habitat lies within Komodo National Park, a UNESCO World Heritage Site established to protect the species and its extraordinary ecosystem. Komodo dragons are powerful predators equipped with sharp teeth and venom-producing glands. Despite their formidable reputation, encounters are managed through strict visitor rules, and tourists should follow park rangers rather than approach wildlife independently. Their future, however, is not guaranteed. The IUCN classifies the Komodo dragon as endangered, with climate change, habitat pressures, and rising sea levels among the long-term concerns. Indonesia has volcanoes, jungles, and thousands of islands, but few sites feel as ancient as watching the world's largest living lizard crossing its natural habitat. Here, dragons are not creatures from mythology. They are real. Number 5. One country, hundreds of worlds. Travel across Indonesia and the country can seem to reinvent itself from one island to the next. This enormous archipelago stretches more than 5,000 kilometers from west to east and officially includes over 17,000 islands, creating one of the most geographically fragmented nations on Earth. The human diversity is just as extraordinary. Indonesia's 2020 census recorded a population of about 270.22 million, while official and academic sources identify more than 1,300 ethnic groups. More than 700 living languages are spoken across the archipelago, even though Bahasa Indonesia serves as the national language connecting the country. Java alone contains more than half of Indonesia's population. Travel east or west, however, and daily life can change dramatically. Balinese Hindu temples give way to Muslim communities elsewhere. Traditional houses, clothing, food, music, and local languages can transform within a relatively short journey. Today, Indonesia's population has grown to roughly 285 million, making it the world's fourth most populous country. Indonesia is therefore difficult to experience as a single culture. From Sumatra to Papua, it feels more like hundreds of distinct worlds sharing one national identity. Number 4. Living among 120 active volcanoes. For millions of Indonesians, volcanoes are not distant landmarks. They are part of the landscape surrounding farms, towns, and entire communities. Indonesia sits along the Pacific Ring of Fire, where tectonic plates collide, making it one of the most volcanically active countries on Earth. According to Indonesia's geological authorities, the country has around 120 active volcanoes, more than almost anywhere else on the planet. Famous peaks such as Merapi, Semeru, Anak Krakatau, and Mount Ibu are continuously watched because conditions can change rapidly. Yet volcanoes bring more than danger. Over generations, volcanic material can create mineral-rich soils, helping explain why densely populated islands, such as Java, contain highly productive agricultural regions. Volcanoes have also shaped local tourism, mythology, architecture, and settlement patterns. The risks remain very real. Indonesia maintains monitoring networks, alert levels, evacuation zones, and disaster response systems for communities living near active peaks. Eruptions can temporarily force thousands of residents to leave vulnerable areas. Number 3. A megacity of extreme contrasts. Jakarta can feel like several cities compressed into one enormous urban landscape. Glass skyscrapers and luxury malls rise above crowded neighborhoods, while street vendors, motorcycles, commuter trains, and modern rapid transit systems move millions of people through the city every day. Jakarta itself has more than 10 million residents, but the wider metropolitan region, commonly known as Jabodetabek, is home to over 30 million people, placing it among the largest urban areas on Earth. The density becomes visible almost everywhere: packed roads, high-rise apartments, narrow residential streets, and neighborhoods built around major transport corridors. Traffic has long been one of Jakarta's defining challenges, but transportation is changing. The city now has MRT and LRT services alongside the enormous KRL commuter rail network and Trans-Jakarta bus system, one of the world's largest bus rapid transit networks. Jakarta also faces another serious challenge. Parts of the city have experienced significant land subsidence, while flooding remains a recurring concern. Number 2. Coffee with a bizarre secret. Indonesia produces one of the world's most unusual coffees, Kopi Luwak. Its famous and controversial secret begins with the Asian palm civet, a small mammal that eats ripe coffee cherries. The beans pass through its digestive system before being collected, thoroughly cleaned, processed, roasted, and eventually brewed. This unusual process transformed Kopi Luwak from a regional curiosity into an internationally famous luxury product. Some versions have been marketed at extraordinarily high prices, especially in tourist areas and specialty coffee markets. But there is a darker side to its popularity. Animal welfare researchers and organizations have raised concerns about some commercial operations where civets may be kept in cages and fed coffee cherries rather than naturally selecting food in the wild. Researchers have also questioned whether products marketed as wild can always be independently verified. Indonesia remains one of the world's major coffee-producing countries, with famous growing regions stretching from Sumatra to Java and Sulawesi. Kopi Luwak may be its strangest coffee story, but its real lesson goes beyond the unusual production method. When a rare local tradition becomes a global luxury product, popularity can completely transform the industry behind it. Number 1. Indonesia is building a new capital. Indonesia is attempting something few countries ever do, building a new capital almost from scratch. Nusantara is rising in East Kalimantan on the island of Borneo, roughly 1,200 kilometers from Jakarta, the megacity that has served as Indonesia's political and economic center for generations. The project was announced in 2019 and construction began in 2022. Jakarta's extreme congestion, population pressure, flooding, and land subsidence were among the major reasons behind the decision to create a new administrative center. But as of July 2026, the transition is still a work in progress. President Prabowo Subianto has continued supporting the project, with the government targeting Nusantara to function as Indonesia's political capital by 2028. Construction of legislative and judicial complexes is underway, while executive facilities and major infrastructure have already been developed. Official figures reported private investment commitments reaching about 72.39 trillion rupiah by May 2026. The vision is ambitious: a greener, smarter city surrounded by the forests of Borneo. Whether Nusantara ultimately fulfills that promise will make it one of Indonesia's biggest stories for decades to come. Indonesia is a country where ancient traditions, wild landscapes, megacities, and extraordinary communities exist side by side. And these 15 stories reveal only a small part of it. Which one surprised you the most? Tell us in the comments. If you enjoyed this journey, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who loves discovering the world. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next journey.